You ready? All right, I'm Jordan Gerheim with Outside Chief Legal.
No,
Yeah.
All right. So full disclosure, this is the second time that we've done this because I have to apologize to Jordan. I messed up the audio so bad on the last one that I was like, please, is there any way that we can get together and re-record this? And so thank you for coming out again.
Man, absolutely. I mean, I appreciate the opportunity. It's awesome to, get to catch up with you, but also tell people about Outside Chief Legal.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, before we get too far into it, we like to know a little bit about the person that we're talking to. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Jordan, where you're from, did you grow up here, school, that kind of.
Okay. Yeah. Was born in Dallas, Texas, lived there for a few years. We moved to the suburbs of Atlanta, at least they were at the time. And I pretty much grew up in Alpharetta, Georgia. Graduated high school there, went to the University of Georgia, and then clerked for a year, figuring out what I wanted to do and studying for the LSAT. Then I went to law school in Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
And when I graduated, I've been down here ever since. So, yeah.
And family in the area?
My parents have now moved from North Georgia down here. Yeah. And married, and we have 1 3.5-year-old son.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. And for those of you that are listening to this that don't know, your wife is?
She's a judge. Yeah. Also a lawyer and a judge. Yeah.
No, it's just funny because, I mean, most guys feel like they're being, like the gavel is being slammed on them daily anyway, but your wife actually has a reason to slam that gavel. So.
Yeah, there's a funny joke like, all wives are judgmental anyway, right? So, no, but I'm really proud of her. She loves her job, which, she's happy wife, happy life. So, yeah, she really loves it.
No, for sure. That's awesome. Now, go back to, like high school and college.
Okay.
Would you have considered yourself, a good student?
Yeah, I was an excellent student. Yeah. Now, did I do the best that I could have? Probably not. I always kind of figured out, okay, here's what I need to do to make an A, and I made an A. And then I probably could have figured out that I was going to be an attorney or some type of, business early on, because I remember there were a few grades that I had to negotiate up. Still there. Yeah.
I do some extra the floors in the classroom.
Yeah, especially for some of the subjective, classes, English and stuff like this. So yeah, we had a little bit of success in that back in the day. But yeah, I was, I think not until I got to law school did I really, really understand about studying. I think I was just lucky in that I was gifted. I had a good memory.
Yeah.
And, the school was kind of structured in a way that met my skill set and talents, which I know it does not for a lot of people, but.
No, I mean, I'm horrible at, remembering, things. I remember concepts and, think, creatively, but, when it comes to like rote memorization, like,
right.
That is not my skill set. So school was not my thing. But the reason why I bring that up is because, we found over the years that, I mean, you obviously have extended schooling, right? But a lot of people don't even go to college and have successful businesses. And, it's just, there's no real rhyme or reason. It's more about the grit and the person's ability to like overcome obstacles and stay, positive and in face of all the things that you're going to, have come up against you when you own a business.
Yeah. Well, I think most successful people have, some aspect of creativity, imagination, and work ethic, and just perseverance.
Yeah.
And those can be applied to a bunch of different people. I'm actually jealous of the people who know that, hey, I don't want to go to college, or I don't need to go to graduate school. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And they did it. 10 years. They got started 10 years before I did. And
hundreds of thousands of dollars in less, schooling.
Yeah. That's right. Well, thanks for
that reminder, Mark.
Well, there's a lot of people kind of like myself that were in law school still trying to find their way. We talked about that, but But, I was a pre-med student, for 3 years. I was a biology major and I wanted to be a doctor. And I shadowed, doctors and surgeons and it was a great opportunity. I wanted to be a doctor, but I realized I did not want to go to school that long.
Yeah.
And I had an aunt that was in hospital administration, and she was telling me about all the negatives with insurance and how that had changed. Well, she came from a different era of medical, the medical field. And so I said, oh, so at that point, I was 3 years in. My parents said, you get 4 years. And, luckily I had a history minor. I just love history. So I was studying that for fun, and I had a minor. I was able to flip that to a major, add another major in sociology. But even with that, what was I going to do with a history and sociology major? And so
It's almost as good as the English major.
exactly, so let's go to law school.
Yeah.
Everybody, they always said you can do anything with a law degree. And so I went there and so, yeah, that's how I got there. But
I was told that if I got an English degree that they would know that I could read and write, and that was a pretty good prerequisite for getting a job.
well, the ability to write, is just paramount.
Yeah.
Most of them, even with AI and stuff now, the ability to write and really write well is just an amazing skill.
Well, and even with AI, knowing what is good writing,
Right, exactly.
and what isn't.
Yeah, no, just
'Cause
because
you
you
can
can
tell
use
the
AI.
AI, yeah.
Yeah. And, I thought I was a good writer. We talked about I made good grades and all this going up through school until I got out of law school and had some really good mentors, older attorneys, experienced, let's say.
Yeah.
And I realized I was not that as good as I thought. And then, legal writing is a little bit different, but it's got to be much more persuasive. You got to know your audience, and it is a huge skill. And I can think back. I can think back to that seventh grade English teacher that gave me that subjective grade that we negotiated, right?
Oh my gosh.
But I can remember all the nitpicky things that she taught me about English and grammar and punctuation and all that, and it's just shit.
I made the mistake of telling AI to use Strunk and White's. For those of you that don't know, Strunk and White is a little booklet, and it's probably only, if it's 100 pages, it's not 100 pages, but it's got all of the editorial rules for grammar. And so you're talking about, dangling participles and, the Oxford commas and, things like that, most people don't ever pay attention to, because we live in a society now where punctuation doesn't really make a difference.
Oh yeah.
And so, but back in the day, learning all that stuff, you want to talk about a headache. So,
Huge.
But anyway, what you got?
We got whole different rules for legal writing, and they got this thing called blue booking. It's how you properly cite to cases and things like that. And then when you're in law school, you try to get on, you probably heard of like Law Review or his other journals, right? And you got to have certain grades or writing skills to get on these things. And firms look for those, but that has its own language too. And if you've done that, like when you see someone else's work and it doesn't meet up to the code, it influences you. And we're trying to influence others. We don't, not really looking for that.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. Well, what was your first job, and were there any lessons from?
My first jobs, I think I started around, 10, 11, 12. I was shining shoes, taking care of neighbors' pets, babysitting, washing cars. And then I got into yard work. And so I was, by high school, I was doing, 15, 20 yards a week. And I was
raking in the cash.
Most money, literally raking in the cash, right?
Yeah.
Hard work, obviously. Having to use your own capital to start a business, to expand a business. Kind of got into like a little bit of, independent contractors or employees, because I got my sister in, to help me out.
Nice.
Or if I was going out of town, I had to, make sure I had, one of my buddies that, that could take over the cases. Yeah. Saving, I learned a lot about that. My parents made me put half of everything that I made, away.
Good for them.
Yeah, no. So I learned a lot about that. But those were my first jobs.
Nice.
Yeah.
All your standard jobs that a young lad should have, right?
I think so. Yeah. Hopefully they still exist.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, how do you apply that as a parent? Do you think that you'll want your kids to, and this is, not a question that I normally ask, but it's just something that's on my mind because I got, a bunch of kids, of my own, but do you think that you'll want your kids to get jobs early on?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, even if I've watched other friends, that have older kids than me. I think it's good idea to make sure that they have some like different types of jobs. They need, even if they don't like it, they learn the value of a dollar. They learn the value of their time.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I really learned out.
We also learn what you don't want to do,
which is just as valuable. Right. My dad, if he would ask us all the time, what do you want to do when you grow up? And if we came up with any ideas, he'd say, well, you need to go see what those people do on a daily basis and see if that's really what you want to do. Being a lawyer is not always what it looks like on suits. Being a doctor is not always what it looked like on ER, which was big back then.
Yeah.
And so how can you really know if that's what you want to do? You got to go see those people. But eliminating options because, that's not what I want to do, that's just as valuable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really thankful.
My very first job was at a bagel bakery, and I stayed in the bakery space until I went away to college and I got a job at Lowe's. And the only reason why I bring that up is because bagel bakery and bakeries weren't the greatest jobs, but it taught me a lot. But the other thing too, and I remember having this conversation with somebody very early on, it was like working for different people also taught me the management styles that I wanted and that I didn't want to incorporate in my own, rise, if you will, into, management.
Or try to.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you work for some real buttholes when you're coming up. So
it also gives you a perception. I mean, I've had people that I thought, oh man, I'll never be like that. But to be able to see it from their perspective and understand what they're dealing with, right? So like, we may never be employees again, but if we were, we would definitely have a better perspective of what, our owners, managers, are dealing with.
Yeah.
And that's really something different.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So tell us how you started your business.
Okay, great. Let's see. I got out of law school. I came down to Mobile for whatever reason. The Mobile law firms, liked me. I wanted to go somewhere, a place and a firm where I knew I could get experience right off. And when I went into law school, the economy was booming. We were talking about the economy. I thought I would get in. I wanted to get out, maybe do some transactional work. I had kind of decided that I played sports all through college and the competitive nature in me. I was like, maybe I've had enough. I'm just going to get out and do some business. When I got into law school, I realized real fast that the transactional is interesting, but the litigation, that kind of, I got the bug.
To hold your feather.
Yes. And so that I'd always been told that I was too introverted, too shy to be a lawyer, which I think was part of what made me go to law school and, showed that and that's, I can do this. But when I was in law school, I realized, I wasn't so shy if I knew what I was talking about. And so you have to take a moot court class in law school and I did really well, in that. And I said, well, I'm gonna give this a shot. So came down here. I wanted to do litigation. I wanted to be a litigator, and I did. I got a lot of experience. And the first firm was at the time the oldest law firm in Alabama, and it got swallowed up by a big New Orleans firm. So I stayed there a little while, and then I went to another firm where I, practiced for another 10 years and was a partner. About 5 years ago now, I started my own firm called Outside Chief Legal.
Yeah. And I mentioned this in the previous recording, which we keep referring back to. Hopefully, we'll stop soon. But that I was quite surprised. Like, you have some very heavy hitters working with you, for you, however you want to put it now. And, your organization has grown, quite a bit. So, hats off, because I know that space isn't easy. I mean, obviously it's not running a restaurant, but, it's not an easy space. And so, you've grown that, quite a bit. So congratulations.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of hard work, from a lot of different people. Hopefully that is evidence of, how we're doing things and how we're doing things differently, is of interest and benefit to people.
Is there anything that you think that you've done differently that maybe has attributed to that success? That was not a question I asked him before.
Yeah.
You can tell by the little.
So I don't have a prepared answer. I mean,
And if you don't,
well, I think it's the mentality of the way we approach legal services and being people's lawyer and counselor, right? So I started as a pure litigator, right? Did a lot of insurance litigation, business litigation, commercial litigation. And through that, I mean, I learned a lot of litigation skills. I loved all that. But eventually I always was asking questions about, like, how did the business owner get in this situation? Right? How could we have prevented this? How could we have improved their position if it couldn't have been prevented? Right? The insurance companies, for all you can say about them, I mean, you pay a premium, you get a policy and coverage, and they're addressing this one issue,
Yeah.
right? And that's their job, and they're doing it. But for that business owner, the world doesn't stop with just that issue, that lawsuit. And so I became more interested in that, in the business side of things, not only of law, but like the actual client's business.
Mm-hmm.
And so over time, it started to become their counselor, their general counsel,
Yeah.
right? And looking at their business as a whole. And that's the mentality that I took into that role, and that mentality that I took into Outside Chief Legal. So we have attorneys that are experts in a number of different fields: litigation, corporate, M&A, real estate, estate planning, business succession planning, right? But we are all looking at it from, okay, Marcus is our client, this is his business, and we're looking at it from your perspective, as opposed to the traditional model was a break fix model. Something went wrong in Marcus's or his business's life. It rose to the level that he wanted to call a lawyer, and we're going to try and fix it. Right. We are really trying to take that. That's a reactive, model. We're trying to move it to the proactive model. Yeah.
No, that's really smart, because I think a lot of people find themselves in business. It's the E-Myth, thing where, and if you haven't read the book, basically the premise is, if you're a good baker and you start a business, well, now not only are you a good baker, but you also have to be a good accountant, a good bookkeeper, a good, manager, a good, all the things. And so, it's this idea that you keep rising, but you may not have every angle. And I think being a lawyer, you've seen and been exposed to quite a bit that would, be a valuable asset to somebody that didn't maybe have that experience.
Yeah. Well, you talk about E-Myth, I was talking about, man or woman of many hats, right? You start a business, you're wearing all the hats.
All that.
You're the CMO, COO, CFO, and even your own CLO, your legal officer, right? And as you grow, or you want to grow, you've got to be able to hand those hats off to people, whether they're internal or external.
Yeah.
Usually the ones that you start with are the CFO, the COO, CMO, and all this kind of stuff. The people usually hand off or don't think about the legal, because it's always seen as an expense, not an asset.
Yeah.
Now we're trying to change that, but also what OCL is providing is, you may not ever have to bring it in-house, right? We're fractional, we're outside. You don't have to pay that heavy overhead. And so you can use us, as needed, or hopefully be proactive in matters.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, all of those different hats, at some level, they've learned from the other hats, right? We learn from CFOs, COOs, CEOs, and all that kind of stuff. And we like to bring that knowledge and experience to our clients and their businesses. So we say a lot, like we aim to protect and promote.
Yeah.
Like, so a lot of lawyers, or their clients, right? Oh, they're there to protect me. We can do that. That's fine. How can I improve your
Yes. How
business?
to prevent you from getting into the trouble in the
Well,
first place.
prevention is right, but also how can I promote your business?
Yeah.
Right. So we'll settle whatever fires it is. We'll get you fixed up. We'll clean house. We'll get your files in order, all this kind of stuff. All right. What are your goals? Where do you want to take this business? All right. How can we help you? Right. And then that's not just putting out fires. Like, is it creating synergies? Like, hey, yeah, I'd really like to do this, but I don't know this or this. I don't know this person.
Right.
Well, guess what?
We do. Yeah.
We're working with hundreds of businesses, and they're looking for someone like you too. Like, so I love that the synergy part and helping grow businesses. I love.
Yeah.
We can still do the other stuff, and you got to start there. But I think it's a lot of educating the market, which you're helping me do now. Is that's not all you can use legal for, right? And as we've kind of grown into this role, I saw that, half the time clients would call me, I would realize this really isn't a legal question. We've just become a team, and you're spitballing, or, hey, what do you think about this?
You're a sanity check.
Yes. There is not an issue or a decision that a business owner has to make that doesn't involve a legal issue. Like, I challenge anybody to come up with one that doesn't involve a legal issue, and you can't, right? But that may not be the biggest, point or factor in making the decision. It may be business, and we try to take it beyond that. We're just telling, yes, this is what the law says, you can or can't do that. No, all right, let's help the client with the actual business.
Move forward with it.
Yeah.
No, I think it's smart. Like, an accountant, a lawyer, and a banker are the top 3 people that you need to meet when you start, a business.
Right.
And so having somebody like you guys on tap, if you will, I think is a really smart idea. So, what's something that you wish someone had told you before you started, something that you learned the hard way?
Oh, you man.
It's not easy sitting here in the hot seat.
There's so many things, and regardless of whether or not I admitted it at the time, I probably knew they were right. I think probably most business owners would say the same thing as, like, what I will come up with to the answer to this question. There's probably a bunch of them, but I probably would have, in hindsight, I would have started faster. I would have done it sooner. I would have taken more chances. I would have taken bigger risks. Because I had discussions with people before I, started OCL. I had a great job, a freaking amazing firm, making great money, and I was about to step out and, leave all of that. And one of my friends, my clients, which was great because, you got a lot of clients that are also friends, that's awesome. They're also my mentors, right? These are successful business owners. And now I've always helped them with their business. Now they're potentially helping me with mine. Right. And he just asked me a question. It was like, well, what is this going to be a fatal risk? I said, well, what is that? They're like, well, what's the worst thing that's going to happen if you leave your job? How long would it take you to find another job? Are you going to be able to put food on the table? And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure, it wouldn't take. And he was like, well, it's not fatal, And so I use that example with my clients all the time. To an evaluating risk, right? A lot of people, we're never going to be the no attorneys, right? We're not going to put the legal in front of the practical, So, like, all right, tell me, what are we dealing with? And with a lot of our clients, we already know because we deal with them all the time. Yeah. And it's our job to make sure we know what's going on with them. But yeah, I probably would have done it faster.
Yeah, I 100% agree because, once you get into business, it's just, I don't know, it just moves at a different speed. So, is there a person, book, or a resource that's changed the way you think about business?
I recently read Ownership Thinking. Have you read that? So it's a way, or the ideal behind it is getting your whole team to kind of buy in more with what you're doing and to feel like they are involved, vested or owners. So I got a lot of that. I mean, I'm, had a lot of books, but that was the most recent one. And then something I think is timely. I just read. It's called Main Street Millionaire. I never remember authors' names, but it's like Cody Sanchez or something like that. But she's talking about how to buy businesses, especially in this kind of, what they're calling the silver tsunami with, a lot of baby boomers
retiring.
Yeah, and they don't really have a succession plan. And so there's a lot of opportunity out there. We were talking about there's a lot of opportunity out there for, younger generations to take over some really great and profitable, businesses, mom and pops, and because those companies don't have succession plans. Their kids or whatever.
They've got to pull that cash out.
Yeah, that's their retirement. Yeah. And so we're doing a lot of that on our side, on the M&A side, helping people get their businesses ready to sell, going through with the transactions. But she sets out, how to do that from a buyer's perspective. So it's pretty good. I like that one.
And that was a Main
Street Millionaire.
I'm going to have to pick that up because I've been looking at that. We advise a number of people too, and even my kids. It's like, what should they be looking at doing, in the future and stuff. And one of the ideas is buying like a plumbing business or an HVAC business or an electrical business or something along those lines. But
there must be something behind it because there's a bunch of PE companies are buying them up left and right.
Right.
So they must be profitable.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, okay, how do you like to unwind? You have a place on the river.
You have a place.
You go out and sip some wine on the back porch or something like that.
No, I don't. I used to. No wine for me anymore. But I don't know. I mean, we got a 3.5-year-old, so unwinding is a little bit different these days.
You go to work to unwind.
He's getting older and he's getting so much fun.
Yeah.
So I really love that. Yeah. What's interesting, unwinding for me is kind of like still working, but maybe different work. I love working on the business. I love working on other people's businesses, or just, going home and getting in the yard or doing something, right? I'm helping build businesses, but it's not always tangible. And so, like, I know you like to work with wood.
Yeah.
Working in the yard or something, I can see it, and that I love that. There's something to that.
I don't do this anymore because we have somebody that takes care of our yard. But one of the most powerful times of my week back when I lived in a different house was mowing the grass, because there was like nothing. I mean, you're just behind a mower, just walking, and it's like you're unpacking all the things in your head that you've been dealing with, and coming up with like, oh, well, what if I approached it from this side, or what about this other side? And well, I need to have this conversation. How's that going to go? Blah blah blah. And so, just really valued that time. So woodworking kind of takes that over for me, but at the same time, you kind of have to pay attention because there's these spinny things that have sharp blades on them that cut your hand off if you don't.
We were talking about my landscape or yard days, and you do multi, so you're just like behind a mower. So I couldn't afford a riding mower by then. And just behind it, for hours on end. I remember like one of the first things I bought when I had any money was remember those yellow Walkmans? Because I had to get out of my head, like hours and hours. Like, man, I'm gonna drive myself crazy.
So yeah, we're similar in that respect.
Yeah. But music is big, big winding down. I mean, I just huge music. Yeah.
Yeah. I've recently thought, and I haven't come to any conclusions, but I have, like how do I paint this? I used to listen to music all the time, and now most of the stuff that I listen to is voice. Podcasts and things like that. And so I'm wondering if that ability to disconnect and kind of like take it down is lost because I'm listening to stuff that still is either stressful because it's about the economy and the world events and stuff like that, or stressful because it's about business and I'm thinking about things, and instead of just some random song from the 90s where I'm listening and just singing along, or something like that. But
Yeah, the 90s, yeah. No, I've been thinking about that a lot lately too, because I'm the same way. Like,
Yeah.
I don't used to listen to certain channels or music, while in the car and stuff like that. And now it's just straight podcast, business development,
Yeah.
world news, this kind of stuff.
At some point in time, though, I feel like I just have to
You have to
unplug.
find, but you're gonna have. You're gonna have to be, purposeful about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that leads into our rapid fire questions. Right.
Mhm.
Favorite type of music?
Alternative, rock from the 90s area. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pearl Jam's my favorite band.
I was just, and I know this is supposed to be rapid fire, but this is so funny. Chrissy we were riding along and somehow Live came on the stereo, and I hadn't heard them in so long, and it sent me down this rabbit trail of like listening to all the, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Live, Nirvana, all those guys. It was such a good period of time for music. So,
Awesome.
what's your favorite type of food?
Mexican, yeah, Latino, Spanish, yeah.
Favorite restaurant in Lower Alabama?
Oh boy. I love Chuck's, Noja, Moe's. Those are kind of three different.
Moe's Barbecue.
Yeah, Moe's barbecue. Yeah.
Got to be specific around here because we got the Southwest thing going too.
Yeah, no.
The
Locals
Moe's
know who I'm
Barbecue.
talking about.
Yeah. No, that's good. Favorite city outside of Mobile?
On the U.S., Chicago has always been my favorite. Outside, I really like the Spanish culture, so I really love that. Paris has always been a lot of fun for my wife and I too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
I've never been to Paris, but one of these days,
you're gonna do it.
for sure. Portugal's my bucket list.
Oh yeah, well that's on my bucket list for sure. Yeah, a lot of great things.
Yeah. City you want to travel to but have yet to visit?
So we just Portugal, also southern Spain. So we did the whole northern Spain and Pamplona and in that area. My dad was stationed in southern Spain when he was in the Navy, and I've just heard all about it. And so I really want to go down there.
Yeah, that's cool. What comes to mind when I say guilty pleasure?
Like sweets.
Anything you reach for more than other?
No, that's the problem. I just reach for it. Yes.
Yeah. Morning person or night owl?
I've become a morning person. Yeah, in the last 5-6 years for sure.
And favorite movie or TV show?
My favorite movies, I always have like a trifecta. Dances with Wolves, always loved. Rudy, I was just like, motivational, corny kind of deal.
Yeah.
But,
You still cry at the end of Rudy?
yeah, or get goosebumps. Like how, how
Yeah.
can and I just remember my sister went to West Point, and she gets all these opportunities to meet all these famous people, and she met Rudy Rudiger.
Oh wow!
And got a football signed for me. So
cool.
That's one of the cool things she's gotten for me.
Nice.
So that's really cool. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Although the other people will say he was offsides, but in any case, because I was a walk-on too, and so we're talking about work ethic and perseverance. That the walk-on story has always been really cool.
Yeah, to be able to overcome the fact that you weren't picked.
Yeah.
I
I still have the list of all the players, and there was like 5 or 6 guys that I had to beat out, that were already on the team that I had to beat out to get on the spot, and just being in that role, it's a lot. Yeah,
that's cool. What are you most thankful for?
Health, family's health, and the people that the friends and my team at OCL. Yeah,
That's awesome. They are, I'm sure, kind of family by now. You tell people where they can find out more information.
Yeah, Outside Chief Legal. We're on all the socials. Want people to check us out on there and check out what we call our partner plans, and that is something new that we're providing the market so that people don't just see us see us, I say lawyers, as an expense and a break fix. It allows them to budget, and so we can start getting them cleaned up, and we start working on building their business. So
it's interesting because most people don't ever, when they start a business, they don't budget for things like legal or like, marketing or, whatever. And the truth is that there's always going to be something for somebody with that skill set to work on in the business. Like just got hired on as kind of a retainer engagement for a client out of Indianapolis. And, I'm sure at first they were kind of like, well, we just need, this. And I'm like, well, to do that, then this other thing has to be changed and this stuff has to be changed and blah, blah, blah. And so it's just, like I'm going through and rewriting all the content on their website. I'm going through and doing, all kinds of stuff. And so it's just a matter of having the ability to set aside some money for somebody with a skill set.
And also they brought in a partner. Yeah, you're their partner now.
Yeah.
And if they had just tried to go and do that piecemeal, right? They had done something. Well, they're going to go back and have to pay to do the stuff that you told them, that you taught them that they needed to do first, right? And they don't have all the world budget to give all this kind of stuff, but you could tell them what they need at this stage,
right?
And that's the way we've developed our partner plans, and that it's based on where you're at in your business, right? So we're not going to come in and say, we need all this money to get you started. No, because you don't need all this right now.
Right.
We're going to help you get it set up, protect and promote. So we're going to protect you what you have now and set you up to protect what you're about to build. And then our job, at each stage is different. At the beginning, we're going to help you. We need to generate revenue. We're going to help you generate revenue and help you keep what you're going to get. You move to the next stage, employees, and then we represent them from startup to exit. Throughout the whole stage, we can help you, and they can get information on that, from our website.
Yeah, that's really cool. I would back that up. I mean, I think there's going to be something that a lawyer is needed for real. So, well, I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast. To wrap up, any final thoughts or comments you'd like to share?
No, man, I really appreciate the opportunity. Second time.
Well, I've been sitting over here staring at the little.
We're good,
It's working. So, but I really do. I appreciate your time. So, well, Jordan, I appreciate your willingness to sit with me and share your journey as a business owner and entrepreneur. It's been great talking with you, man.
Yeah, thanks, Marcus.
Absolutely.